the city again. Well, the moment I stepped into the city, I thought, is this the Kamaishi city that I used to know? It was rubbles everywhere. And I thought that something unimaginable happened here. And you can see the whole city. This was the first time I was seeing the whole of Kamaishi city at one glance. In my head, I did understand that this kind of devastation could happen. However, in disaster management, we looked at a more realistic scenario as we created the hazard maps. We had the elementary school where children could evacuate, but this school building was hit up to the third floor. But fortunately, the children fled from the school building. And also there was this evacuation center, the disaster management center, and many of the citizens carried out an evacuation drill several days before the earthquake. However, it was a greater a tsunami than had been assumed. And I was wondering, what did we assume when we created these hazard maps and these scenarios? Well, you need these scenarios, but you also need to prepare yourself so that, just in case something outside of the assumption happens.
Yes, we need to have some assumptions in our drills for scenarios, but we are countering nature. Or something overwhelming can occur, but we need some, practically speaking, some more probable situations. But we are not prepared for it, so we cannot be prepared for unexpected events that can occur. So that's exactly what happened this time. So how would I have behaved in a situation? I think that feeling should come up to many people's minds. Only after 30 minutes after the occurrence of the earthquake, the huge tsunami waves hit the Kamaishi city. For such a short period of time, people have to be protected. So how are you feeling about that? In Hanshin earthquake and other disasters, they struck me very strongly, and I was moved by people's resilience and the volunteer workers who supported the people. And based on that, the Japanese the governments, local and central, they prepared for situations. But how you act for a short period of time can decide your fate. So time is very limited between the earthquake occurrence and the tsunami arrival. I have been working for such a situation, but I was powerless.
That was an earthquake specialist who had designed hazard maps for the city that was eventually wiped out. They had run a tsunami evacuation drill 8 days before the actual evacuation, or before the actual tsunami. He's attributed with saving a lot of kids' lives for doing that.
Been reduced to 51, but this time, as many as the 13,261 people have been reported missing, and of the 8,649 reported dead, only half of them have been identified. The many people are still looking for the whereabouts of the loved ones.
The tsunami and fire devastated Kesanuma City in Miyagi Prefecture. There was a woman with her name and her husband's name taped onto the chest. This is Yumi Hayashi. She is still looking for her husband, Gose. 1 week after the earthquake, she has already looked for him in all shelters nearby. On this day, she visited a general hospital in the city. she was wondering that maybe Gosei could have been injured badly and have been brought to the hospital. She tells the person at the counter that her husband's name is Gosei Hayashi, but is told that his name is not on the list, and is told that maybe he could have evacuated somewhere. On the day of the earthquake, Gosei was at home, and after the big earthquake, he emailed Yumi at her workplace suggesting that he will go pick up their daughter at the elementary school. However, she hasn't heard from him since. The couple has 2 children, but the 2 children were safe. But their home was totally damaged. Yumi and the 2 children are now staying at her sister's house. The fuel for the heater has all been used, and 8 days after the earthquake, her 3-year-old son ran a high fever. Yumi, accompanied by her father, visited the place where her house used to be. She was hoping that maybe Gosei has been stranded inside the house. However, the water around her home still hasn't receded, and she could not get near her home. I wonder where I should go. Her father says that you can't really go anywhere because there's water everywhere. She had to give up 300 meters away from where the house used to stand. Yumi says that she believes that her husband is safe somewhere. But she's mortified to think that maybe he could be suffering. She wants to find him quickly, as soon as possible. The piles of rubble is making it difficult to approach these areas. Now the SDF and firefighters from around Japan are cooperating in these search operations. But the houses that have been washed away by the tsunami are all piled up, and it is proving to be a difficult task. The bodies that are found, even among them, only half could be identified. Most of the personal effects on the bodies have been washed away by the tsunami. Therefore, it makes it difficult to identify them. The only clues are information on where the bodies were found and their physical characteristics. There is a man who comes to where the bodies are placed every time a new body is found. This is Kohei Ogata. He is looking for his daughter, Miho. On this day, he heard that a woman whose age, features, and description matches Miho was found. It says that the woman was wearing a light blue checkered apron with an embroidery at the chest. Ogata went right away to see the body and try to identify his daughter. However, he found out that it was not Miho. He says that he has to continue to try to find her. He hopes that at least he wishes to find her, because if not, he will have to continue this task. For the past 10 days, there is one place that he has visited again and again. And that is where Miho's car was stranded. Ogata says that the car key is gone. So he believes that Miho turned off the engine, put the key in her pocket, and left to flee the tsunami. He says that he will have to stay here until he finally finds Miho. There are many people who say that they cannot leave the temporary shelters until they find out what happened to their loved ones. Takeshi Endo, who now stays at the evacuation center in Sendai, is one of them. He is looking for his son. He lost his wife in the earthquake and tsunami. It is very cold in the shelter at night, and he is starting to feel ill. Miyagi Prefecture is considering evacuating the whole community to other places. But Endo says that he wants to wait here at the shelter until he hears about his family. Endo says that even if he's told to move away and wait, he will only feel restless. He wants to stay as close as possible so that he can hear as early as possible about his family. He says that if he's gone away, he fears that information may not reach him.